On April 3rd, 2026, an American F-15E Strike Eagle from the 494th Fighter Squadron got hit by an Iranian surface-to-air missile somewhere over Isfahan province. The jet was flying a combat mission as part of Operation Epic Fury, a campaign that had already been running for over 5 weeks. Both crew members ejected. The pilot landed in relatively open terrain and was picked up within hours by U.S. helicopters. But the weapons systems officer, a colonel, wasn't so lucky. He came down miles away in the Zagros Mountains, surrounded by Iranian Revolutionary Guard soldiers who were already converging on the crash site. And for the next 36 hours, he was completely alone, injured, armed with nothing but a pistol and a radio, while hundreds of enemy troops and local civilians hunted him for a $60,000 bounty. So how did the U.S. military get him out? To understand what made this rescue so difficult, you need to picture the terrain. The Zagros Mountains in southwestern Iran. Broken, rocky ground, limited visibility, 7,000-foot ridge lines, and the colonel had a sprained ankle from the ejection, which compresses the spine and rattles every joint in your body. Some people can't walk after it. He walked anyway. True to his SERE training, survival, evasion, resistance, and escape, he did everything right. He moved away from the crash site, away from the wreckage that would draw search parties. He climbed uphill, staying off roads and trails, breaking line of sight with the terrain. He found a crevice in the rock near the top of a ridgeline, crawled inside, and made himself as small as possible. His beacon transmissions were intermittent. His radio calls were short. One of them was just 3 words, "God is good." That message actually caused a brief panic back in Washington because officials worried it might be a signal sent under Iranian coercion that maybe he'd already been captured and this was a trap. But he hadn't been captured. He was still out there, bleeding, freezing, waiting. Meanwhile, the Iranians were throwing everything they had at finding him. The Revolutionary Guard deployed hundreds of soldiers to sweep the area. State television broadcast his approximate location and urged civilians to help find him. Local merchants pooled together the equivalent of $60,000 as a reward. Videos posted online showed villagers and nomadic tribesmen forming search parties, heading into the mountains after dark. The race was on, and the Americans were losing it. U.S. surveillance drones couldn't find him. His beacon was intermittent. For a stretch of time, his status was listed as simply unknown. That's when the CIA stepped in. The agency launched a deception campaign inside Iran, spreading false reports that both crew members had already been recovered and were being moved overland toward exfiltration. The goal was to create confusion, to make the Iranians unsure whether the man they were hunting was even still in the mountains. While Iranian forces chased ghosts, CIA operatives used what officials later called unique, exquisite capabilities to locate one heat signature surrounded by rock high on a ridgeline, a man in a crevice, alive. The agency passed the coordinates to the Pentagon and the White House. The president ordered an immediate rescue. If you want to understand the scale of what happened next, consider this. The U.S. established a temporary forward operating base inside Iran using an abandoned agricultural airstrip about 14 miles north of Shareza City, right in the middle of some of Iran's most heavily defended territory. The Natanz nuclear facility was nearby. IRGC missile installations dotted the region, and the Americans set up shop anyway. We dig into stories like this every week. If that sounds good, subscribe. Under cover of darkness, roughly 100 Special Operations Forces, including Navy SEAL Team 6 and Air Force Special Warfare units, moved into the mountains. They scaled the 7,000-foot ridge. U.S. attack aircraft dropped bombs on Iranian convoys that tried to approach the area. Israeli intelligence provided real-time support, and the Israeli Air Force reportedly carried out at least one strike to block Iranian forces from reaching the colonel's position. The commandos reached the crevice. They pulled him out. He was injured but alive. Then the plan started falling apart. Two MC-130J transport aircraft that had ferried the special operators into Iran suffered mechanical failures on the makeshift airstrip. They couldn't take off. The commandos now had the rescued colonel, but no ride home, deep inside enemy territory, with Iranian forces closing in. Two Black Hawk helicopters took fire and were damaged. An A-10 Thunderbolt that had been providing air support during the search was hit by ground fire and limped to Kuwaiti airspace before the pilot had to eject. The military made a hard call. They couldn't leave those broken aircraft behind for the Iranians to capture and exploit. So they destroyed the two C-130Os and several special operations helicopters on the ground, blew up their own planes to keep them out of enemy hands. 3 additional aircraft were scrambled to extract the team. The commandos, the colonel, everyone flew out of Iran before dawn. Not a single American was killed during the entire operation. The Iranians lost several soldiers and at least one brigadier general who was killed by a U.S. airstrike near Isfahan after his unit fired a shoulder-launched missile at one of the rescue aircraft. Think about what that took. Over 150 aircraft, hundreds of special operators, a CIA deception campaign, a temporary base built inside enemy territory, bombed out convoys, destroyed transport planes, a nighttime extraction from a mountain crevice in the Zagros range, while hundreds of enemy fighters closed in from every direction. Military analysts have called it one of the most complex combat search and rescue operations in American history, and the whole thing hinged on one man doing exactly what his training taught him. Move away from the crash, go high, find cover, stay small, keep your transmission short, trust that someone is coming for you. He sat in that crevice for a day and a half with a pistol and a radio, and someone came. There's another one on screen if you're not done yet.